Sometimes when I start a book, I don't read the synopsis. Sometimes you should read the synopsis. The book we're going to talk about today is a fantasy book. It is called A Palace Near the Wind by Ai Jiang. And I started reading it and I was a bit confused about the characters, but had I read the synopsis, it would have been fine. Might I suggest read the synopsis for this one before you go in? And I went in blind because I've read two other of her books and I really like them. One was Ling Hun, which is awesome. Absolutely fantastic read. If you haven't had a chance to read that, I would highly recommend it if you like horror that is a bit on the strange side, a bit esoteric. I will put a link. I have a video standalone review for that if you want to check it out. That'll be down below in the darkness. Okay, and then she had another novella that I read called I Am I, and that I also thought was pretty fantastic. So I read this, I was like, doesn't matter what it's about. I'm just going in blind. And like judging from the cover, I was like, okay, fantasy, cool. So it follows the story of this woman, Lu Feng, and she is going to marry the king at this palace. And she lives with the community of her people in Feng, which is the name of the lands that they're from. It's lots of forest and plants and animals and stuff. And where she's going to be married off to, where the king lives, is this big palace of bone, and the people that live there are called the land wanderers. And I'm like, okay, the land wanderers, and they are like basically progressing society, deforesting everything, ruining the land, and they travel on these things called travelers, which it seems like there's a little platform and they have mechanical legs, and the mechanical legs just f up the ground and tear crap up. You think they could come up with a better design that's not just effing everything up, you know? Get some effing wheels or some shit. Anyways, I digress. So they've been marrying off the women in this family, like the sisters and her mother all had to go marry this king. Who knows where they are? Maybe they're dead, maybe they're alive. We don't really know. But each time there's a marriage, it prevents the progress of deforestation and destroying the lands and whatnot. So Lu Fang is to be married off to this king. And so I'm reading it, right? And she's describing like the negotiations when one of the people from like the king's party comes, named Copper, and then the grandmother of Lu Feng. They're like negotiating and this, that, and the other. And she's talking about like Copper's lovely skin compared to her bark-like face and her spindly limb-like arms and her needle-like hair. And I'm like, wait a minute. These fucking tree people? Yes. Yes, they are. They are tree people. I didn't know this. I didn't know this because I did not read the synopsis. So that was a surprise. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. But I would have if I had read the synopsis. So, anyways, she goes and she's like, okay, I'm going to kill this king because I don't want this to happen. Like, they're going to try to take my younger sister too, maybe after this. I have no idea. And so she gets there and then starts to learn that everything is so much more complicated and that she's probably not going to be able to just like kill this king because someone else will take his place, right? And there's all this like weird experimentation going on between like the land roamers and then the people of Feng. So you have like these like tree people, and then you have like there's these other realm like regions too that have different abilities, like that can communicate with the water. And so the tree people, they can ride on the air and call the wind. So you have these different abilities. And I'm not sure if this is going to be a duology or a trilogy, to be honest, because this is the first book, I believe, in the series. It's kind of almost like, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's like a climate change book, but it's about loving the earth and realizing that you can't just destroy everything because then there's going to be nothing left. The trees help so that there is air to breathe. You pollute all the water, you get rid of a lot of the food. If there's no plants the animals can eat, then you're not going to have animals to eat if you eat animals. Anyways, and then the tree people, they don't even need to eat food. They just, stick their feet in the dirt and get like the sunlight, photosynthesis. They don't need that. So yeah, that's why some of this stuff was confusing to me. I was like, what is happening? But yeah, if you like fantasy that is strange and where it's trying to overcome the destruction of the beauty in nature and like destroying stuff, and like they want to progress these towns called Gear and Engine. Well, obviously you calls to mind gear and engine, what do you think of like engine oil and smog and all this? So it's a matter of Lu Feng trying to also see if her family is still alive and to disrupt this frickin' BS of like her sisters and her being all like married off to halt this progress, like to see if they can figure out how to halt it once and for all. And what she finds out too is that one of the sisters actually like rebelled. And so she's out there somewhere. And so there's like, I guess, kind of like a rebellion against this going on. If you like fantasy, if you have been a fan of Ai's other books, if you like whimsical and strange lands and characters with interesting abilities, then A Palace Near the Wind by Ai Jiang might just be for you. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.